Alright, NFL fans, buckle up because today we're diving into one of the wildest what-if scenarios of the season. A potential Kyler Murray for Tua Tagovailoa trade. Things in Arizona have been chaotic, and speculation is swirling that Kyler's time with the Cardinals could be coming to an end. Over in Miami, the chatter is just as loud. Tua's future with the Dolphins beyond next season is uncertain, and many fans, myself included, are wondering if a change is coming in 2026. Before we jump into Tua, let's break down the drama surrounding Kyler Murray. This past week in Arizona has been nothing short of confusing. On Tuesday, right after the NFL trade deadline, reports came out that Jacoby Brissett would start for the Cardinals. Naturally, fans panicked. Is Kyler benched? Is this injury related? The speculation ran wild. An hour later, the news came out. Kyler's foot injury was more serious than initially thought, and he was officially placed on injured reserve, meaning he's out for at least the next 4 games. But here's where it gets really weird. There was an expectation that Kyler would be ready to play on Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. After Week 8, Adam Schefter had reported that quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, J.J. McCarthy, and Kyler Murray were all expected to return to action. Yet, Kyler was the only one who didn't. And despite videos showing him moving around in practice, he didn't suit up. The timing feels suspicious, like a soft benching, and most analysts now believe he could be on the move in the offseason. And before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update, because you're not going to want to miss the rest of this breakdown. Back to the situation. Kyler Murray has struggled to find consistency this season in Arizona. His performances haven't lived up to the hype, and with his current cap situation, a trade seems like a possibility. Meanwhile, the Dolphins would have to weigh whether swapping Tua for Kyler is a move that could reshape their future. Before his injury, the Cardinals were holding strong with a 2-3 record, but now they sit at 3-5. Interestingly, with Jacoby Brissett filling in, they even picked up a win against the Cowboys last Monday, showing just how unpredictable this season has been. Kyler Murray, the former number 1 overall pick, has flashed brilliance at times, but injuries have been a constant theme throughout his career. Standing at a smaller stature for an NFL quarterback, Murray has struggled to lead a consistently winning team in Arizona. After an impressive rookie season, there were a couple of years in the early 2020s when the Cardinals looked like legitimate contenders, even vying for the number 1 seed. Kyler was considered an MVP-caliber quarterback, and at one point, the team went undefeated 7 games in with J.J. Watt anchoring the defense. But suddenly, everything fell apart. They finished 10-7, going 3-7 in their final 10 games, and were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the Los Angeles Rams. Murray's tenure in Arizona has been a roller coaster, and it increasingly feels like the Cardinals are ready to move on. Looking at his contract, there's a silver lining for any team that might acquire him. Murray has 3 years remaining, with 1 year being a team option, a rarity in the NFL. By 2028, that option comes in at $43.7 million, but the cap hit for a team like Miami would range between $33.60 and $39.8 million. Considering his talent, that's a very reasonable deal. Kyler Murray may still be a top 20 quarterback, likely in the top half of the league, and getting him for under $40 million per year is solid. Compare that to Tua Tagovailoa, who, despite being a bottom 10 quarterback in terms of performance, carries cap hits around $50 million. So, when you start weighing the options, the argument becomes clear. Kyler Murray represents better value and more upside than Tua. Even if building a championship roster around him might be tricky, in a vacuum, if you had to choose one player to have on your team, most fans would likely go with Murray. Better contract, more dynamic play, and a former number 1 overall pick. He's a talent you can't ignore. Now, let's be real. Swapping Tua for Kyler Murray isn't as simple as some fans on Twitter make it seem. Would the Arizona Cardinals actually want Tua on their roster? Maybe if they were looking for a more traditional, pocket-style quarterback, you could make the argument that he fits better. But a straight-up trade? That's a tough sell. Kyler has been with Arizona long enough that a direct swap just doesn't feel realistic. When you look at why things haven't worked in Arizona, it comes down to a few things. Murray's injury history, struggles to consistently win against top opponents, and performance down the stretch of a season. And if you're keeping track, Those are some of the same issues that have cropped up with Tua. But here's the kicker. Tua's contract makes him even less appealing to another team. In 2026, the difference is huge. Murray's cap hit sits around $36 million, while Tua's is $55.6 million. By 2027, their contracts even out a bit, but come 2028, Tua is still the more expensive quarterback, and that year is fully guaranteed. No team option to ease the financial risk. So when you weigh it all, the performance history, the injury risk, and the financial commitment, it's hard to see a scenario where a team trades significant time, money, or draft capital for Tua. A Murray for Tua swap might make for a fun debate online, but in the real NFL world, it's far from a slam dunk. But let's be realistic. Would the Arizona Cardinals really trade Kyler Murray for Tua Tagovailoa, a quarterback you could argue is worse and getting paid roughly $20 million more? Highly unlikely. Even if Miami wanted to make the swap, they'd probably have to include draft compensation to make it appealing. A realistic offer might look like Tua plus a mid-round pick for Murray, but even then, it's a tough sell. So, should the Dolphins actually trade Tua for Kyler Murray? My answer is no. Even though Murray has the better contract and is arguably the more dynamic player, trading Tua wouldn't solve Miami's problems. Here's why. While Murray's cap hit is lower, Miami would still owe Tua some money if they moved him. Combine that with Murray's contract, and you're essentially paying the same amount as if you just kept Tua on the roster. In other words, trading doesn't buy the Dolphins a cheaper or significantly better solution. It's a lateral move at best, and it doesn't move the team closer to a Super Bowl. Instead, the smarter path is patience. Hold on to Tua through 2026, and then explore options for a quarterback of the future through the draft in 2026 or 2027. This approach saves money and allows the team to plan strategically. There are several exciting prospects on the horizon, with Mendoza leading the pack, followed by Simpson and Sellers. And for fans who follow the draft closely, guys like Brennan Sorsby could be game changers. By waiting and drafting carefully, Miami can secure a long-term solution at quarterback without overpaying or making a rush trade that doesn't actually improve the team. I'm really high on Brennan Sorsby, but I'm not sold on Dante Moore. In my rankings, Moore is around QB 5, Garrett Nussmeier QB 7, Drew Aller QB 8. Keep in mind, some of these quarterbacks could return to school next season. Leonard Sellers, Dante Moore, John Mateer, and even Brennan Sorsby all have a decent chance of staying in college. If that happens, the 2027 quarterback class could be absolutely stacked. Imagine 8 top prospects potentially available in the first 64 picks. That's a loaded draft class. Some might enter the draft earlier, like Jaden Mava, Darren Mensah, Sam Levitt, or even Arch Manning. But if most stay in school, the talent pool in 2027 would be insane. Long-term, players like Sorsby, CJ Carr, and Darian Mensah have elite traits that make them incredibly intriguing prospects. The takeaway here, and the point I want to leave you with, is this: don't rush into a knee-jerk decision. Sure, Kyler Murray could be an immediate upgrade over Tua, but a straight-up swap isn't realistic from Arizona's side, and it's also not necessarily the smartest move for Miami. The Dolphins need to think long-term. The right approach is either to draft a quarterback or build a strong enough roster that any upgrade, whether Murray or another QB, actually puts the team in contention. Look at what the Rams did. Upgrading from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford worked because they had a roster that could compete. The Dolphins could attempt something similar, but simply swapping Tua for Murray won't magically take them to the Super Bowl without a solid supporting cast. The key is patience, strategy, and building the team properly before making a major quarterback move.